Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Doug and Heather tipped me off to a story. And this is the interesting thing. I've talked before about how, for instance, notaries in America have got a very specific job, and it's misunderstood by a lot of people. And I've heard of people who got ripped off because they went to a notary and they thought a notary could do more than a notary is allowed to do in America. And I've had people say, but Steve, in other countries, notaries actually do more than they do here in America. So if you're from another country and you come to America and you find a notary, you might assume that the notary can do the same things here they can do elsewhere. And I understand that makes complete sense. So here's the thing. A guy in Canada went to a paralegal to get a divorce, and it didn't go well. And my first thought was, wait, paralegals handle divorces? Oh, in Canada, apparently they do. But in America, paralegals generally work with attorneys, and attorneys handle divorces. Some of them do. Some of them don't. But man hires paralegal to handle his divorce and discovers he's still married. And yes, he paid for this and didn't get what he paid for. In many parts of Canada, anyone can say they're a paralegal without training, insurance, or oversight and do things that, like I said, in America would require an attorney. Rosa Marchitelli wrote for the story for the CBC News. When Aaron got separated in 2017, he knew that divorces could get messy, but he never imagined it would happen, the messiness that is, because of who he hired to handle his divorce. He told Go Public, it's just crazy. He seemed very professional. He said the right things. He had a contract, and he just seemed quite legitimate. Now, here's the scary part. You can go on the internet and find almost anything you want. So if you wanted to find, a retainer agreement that looked official, I guarantee you can go on the internet and find one in 30 seconds. Just a form retainer agreement, and you have something that looks official. All it means you have access to the internet and a printer. So by the time it was over, Aaron was out $1,100. Good news, that's just Canadian. And he was still married. So spun his wheels quite a bit, cost him some money, but he did not get what he bargained for. So he hired this paralegal from NTM Paralegal. And at the time he was living in Red Deer, Alberta. He'd found the paralegal online, met him in person, and tried everything he could think of to make sure he was legitimate, including checking references. Aaron says he realized something was wrong in September after the paralegal told him the divorce was good to go, and the papers were filed with the court. Good to go. Now, don't get me wrong. Occasionally, I'll use non-legal language speaking to my clients. I might even say ain't once in a while if I'm trying to be funny. But I would never call up a client to say their case is settled and just go, hey, we're good to go. We're good. What does it mean we're good to go? So Aaron phoned the Court of Queen's Bench and found there's nothing here under my name. So I phoned the paralegal back asking for a court file number. He gave me this long, impressive number that the court had never seen. And yes, court cases have got numbers. That's how you identify them. Whenever I talk to people and they tell me about a court case, I'll ask them for the name of the case so I can look it up, or a docket number if you got it. That's even better. But many courts now have their stuff online, so you can simply go to a courthouse, figuratively speaking, punch in the name of a litigant or a participant, and find all the cases that person's involved in as a plaintiff, a defendant, etc. And so this guy could theoretically have probably gone to the same court. Somebody punched in his own name and discovered that his name was not listed anywhere. But what's funny about the court number is that you can tell some things by them. So, for instance, in many courts in Michigan, this is true at a lot of places, the court number will begin with either the year or an abbreviation of the year. So right now it might say 2021 dash something or other, or it might just say 21 dash. And then there'll be a series of numbers because they number the cases. And then in Michigan, there's a case code. And a lot of courts have this too. They'll have a case code. And it's a 2-digit abbreviation at the end that indicates what type of case it is. So if it's a consumer protection case, it'll say CP at the end. If it's a contract case, it'll say CK. And they have different things. So divorce cases will often say like DM, meaning it's a divorce with minor children. So the court file number should have had some of those things in it, but if the guy's a paralegal, he should know that also. But of course, the court had never seen this case number before. So Aaron says that the paralegal who owns NTM Paralegal and NTM Traffic Services, wanted more money from him. I said, I'm not giving you money until I get confirmation that this is actually in the system. Over the next 6 weeks, Aaron continued to phone the court, but nothing happened. Then the excuses started. He got harder to get a hold of, refused to talk to me, and eventually blocked my phone number. Aaron's been trying to get his money back ever since. In much of Canada, there's no way to tell if paralegals are trained, qualified, or even honest. And this is an interesting thing. Why are paralegals even allowed to practice law? And I know some people want to say, but Steve, come on, filing a divorce? Well, if you file an uncontested divorce, I could see that as being something that you might let a paralegal handle if we were going to change the rules in America. But the problem is, divorces are often contentious. And I don't think do I need to explain that? I mean, most people know that. If you disagree with me, I don't think you know what the word contentious means. Unscrupulous individuals are taking advantage of people all the time, says the president of the Alberta Association of Professional Paralegals, the AAPP, an organization that provides support but not oversight. Membership is voluntary. She says the pandemic is only making things worse. People are losing their jobs, but still dealing with legal problems. So more people are starting to seek the services of paralegals because it's cost effective, and then they run into problems like this. She says she's seen cases where people were taken for hundreds and tens of thousands of dollars by paralegals who didn't know what they're doing or weren't even trying to do it. Unlike lawyers who are regulated by legislation administered by provincial law societies, paralegals are mostly unregulated in many provinces, meaning they don't need any training or have any sort of oversight. So if you're in Canada right now and you're unemployed, you can just say, oh, I'm a paralegal. Congratulations, you're now self-employed. Go out and just start paralegaling. And as they point out, and this is true in America, every state in America has got a bar association that oversees the practice of law within that state. And the bar association is supervised by the Supreme Court of the state. So the Michigan Supreme Court supervises the Michigan Bar Association, and they keep lawyers in line. And I know I've talked before about bad lawyers, bad judges, all of that stuff. But the reason we know about them is that they got rooted out by the system that takes care of this stuff. The woman at this association says that this all puts the public at risk because of the lack of regulation. Literally, anybody can walk out their door at any time and say, I'm a paralegal, and I can help you with your legal problem. People in the public are being taken advantage of. This is some paralegals asking to be regulated, including that group which says the reputation of the entire profession is suffering because of the problem few. But in most provinces, those calls have been ignored or rejected. So imagine that you're in a profession and it's being messed up by people who don't play by the rules, and you're actually asking, please regulate us. We want to be regulated. It didn't take long for Aaron to realize that he was on his own. He then tried getting help through the AAPP, but was told that since his paralegal was not a member, there was nothing they could do. So I suppose that might be your first pro tip here, is that if you're in Canada looking at a paralegal and you're wondering if they know what they're doing, contact the AAPP and see if they're a member. It might help if they are. It might not. He says he got no help from the police, who told him that since he'd signed a contract, his only recourse was small claims court, which would cost him more, of course, than the paralegal took from him. So Aaron says that you're left hung out to dry, and he's since moved to Kamloops, British Columbia. I'm not sure, and again, I'm not Canadian, but apparently there's some significance of the fact that he lived in Red Deer and moved to Kamloops. So I don't know if that's like saying he lived in Beverly Hills and then he moved to Flint, Michigan. I don't know. Or are they saying he lived in Detroit and he moved to Miami? I don't know. So Canadian friends, help me out here. Heather? Doug? Aaron says it's a hopeless situation. I considered going to Edmonton. That's where the paralegal is based. But thought, what's the point of the drive if I get up there and just become enraged that it doesn't go anywhere? That's assuming you can find the guy. Probably can't find the guy. For his part, the paralegal seems to have disappeared. His business numbers have been disconnected. His cell phone number now belongs to someone else. and he didn't answer any of the messages sent to him by journalists seeking comment. At the address given in an online listing of his paralegal business, the house is cleared out and the mailbox is overflowing. Police, meanwhile, are actually looking for him. They found an active warrant for fraud, which was issued in 2019. That charge involves another former client who says that the paralegal took his money and simply ran, figuratively speaking. So there's no consistency across Canada when it comes to governing paralegals. Ranges from no oversight at all in Alberta to some in BC and Quebec to full regulation in Ontario through its Law Society. So apparently in Quebec, lawyers oversee the paralegals. And in Ontario, they're overseen through the Law Society. But in other places, they have absolutely no regulation at all. Now, the woman in charge of the AAPP says that paralegals taking money and running make up the most common complaints, but she also hears of missed deadlines for filing civil claims or documents that are prepared incorrectly. People are losing their ability to even pursue their legal avenues, she said, adding that not all the complaints involve paralegals acting in a malicious way. Some seem simply to get in over their heads and then bail. Some law societies are pushing for changes to the province's legislation that would include oversight of paralegals, such as Manitoba has proposed changes to the Legal Profession Act, which would specify the training required for paralegals to offer some legal services. The Law Society of Saskatchewan, where right now anyone can say they're a paralegal, is also working on developing a new licensing system for non-lawyers. So meanwhile, getting back to our friend Aaron, he's all but given up on ever seeing the money he paid for the legal work with his divorce. The problem, of course, is that he's still legally married. And a couple years later, he said, I suppose 99% of the paralegals are operating in good faith. It's tough because there's a few people out there who are scamming. Something's got to be done because there's no way of coming back on these people. And it happens in a lot of professions. It's not just the legal profession, but there are other professions out there where you encounter somebody who appears to be qualified. They act qualified, and it turns out they're not. And I've heard of that in, like I said, a variety of different trades. And so one of the things is that many people will take a look at a legal situation and they'll look at, like, say, a legal form and go, how hard is that to fill out? How hard is that to fill out? And some stuff is fairly easy. I'd say look at a small claims court complaint where they've actually drafted a complaint that you just simply check boxes and fill in plain English what's happening. Very, very simple. But that's designed to be that way. On the other hand, a complaint for divorce has to have, at least in Michigan, certain elements in it. It must say certain things. It must address certain things. And there is language that must be in a lawsuit. And if it's not there, the lawsuit's considered deficient. And if somebody doesn't know that stuff and they file the lawsuit in your name, or they file an action in your name, and it's deficient, and then it gets thrown out because it's deficient, what good did that do you? And so I know people say, but Steve, lawyers are so expensive. Paralegals are so inexpensive. Sometimes you get what you pay for. But these kinds of things, I don't hear about this in America because paralegals, generally speaking, aren't handling stuff and holding themselves out to be able to handle this kind of stuff. Most paralegals are the people who work for attorneys and have special training. And so, for instance, I had I hate to call her a secretary, but a woman who worked for me for many years, and she had a degree where she went and studied to be a paralegal at a college, and then worked for me. And she had training, and she understood a lot of stuff. But that doesn't mean that she could go to court and do that kind of stuff, because I supervised her, but I still did all the legal stuff in court and so on. And by the way, my name went on the pleadings. And I've talked about this before. In most states, when an attorney signs a document and submits it to a court, that signature is an attestation. Attestation. They are attesting. I think I got that right. The lawyer is attesting to the fact that they have read the complaint, and the complaint is well grounded in fact and law and is being filed for an appropriate purpose. That signature says that, just by the signature saying, just signing the last page. So I put my name on that and file it with the court. And yeah, that's one of the things that you pay when one of the things you pay for when you hire an attorney. So that's why paralegals in America, you don't hear about them that much because, like I said, they work for attorneys and are supervised by attorneys. Canada, not so much, but it might be something they should take a look at. So man hires paralegal to handle his divorce and discovers he's still married. Rosa Marchteller wrote it for CBC News, and Doug and Heather sent it to me. Thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Sometimes the most scenic roads in life are the detours you didn't mean to take.